What is your view on slavery?
I strongly oppose slavery, mostly because I once was a slave. Even though my master was kind, I saw my family and friends being abused. It gave me a view of real slavery, and it gave me a hatred of slavery.
There was a great threat that I could become a slave, so I had to escape the South. In the North, I spoke at anti-slavery rallies and encouraged citizens to fight for slave rights. I also spoke to abolitionists to try and encourage them to free the slaves in the South. Without this, the abolitionists wouldn't have had the same amount of intensity, and there wouldn't be fighting with the same passion.
What was your role in the Civil War?
I went into the Confederate White House posing as a slave so I could spy on the president and get information. I watched David's kids and personally cleaned his office.
In the beginning
Valuable information for Union officers.
In the beginning of the war, I had to take whatever job that came my way. I ended up having to make ammunition and weapons for the Confederate Army. They treated me like a slave, even though I was a paid employee. I escaped from the South and went to the North in hopes of signing up for the Army. I was part of the first African-American regiment, and much of my regiment died.
How did the war change you?
I didn't know there was more.
When the war started, I was just a young girl. By the time it was over, I was a woman. During the war, I got married, moved away from my family, and became a spy. When my husband went to war, I learned how to appreciate people and memories. I also moved into the Confederate White House and risked my life to find information. I matured and learned how to put others before me.
As a soldier, I had to move to the North, and I had to leave my wife in the South. I learned how to be a soldier and all the responsibilities that came with it. Because I was an African American, I was on the front lines, which left me on the edge at all times. I got wounded right as the battle was ending, and that's where my wife found me. Through the war, I learned to appreciate my life and all those in it.
What is your view on slavery?
I am a fake identity that is two people joined together. Both of the characters posing to be Ellen B are against slavery, so I also oppose slavery, even though I never claim that I am against slavery. I am one of the part of my character. Miss Bet frees slaves, and my other Liza was once a slave. Therefore, I oppose slavery.
What was your role in the Civil War?
I am what you would call an unsung hero, because nobody knows where the information about the war is coming from. They were really coming for me, even though everyone thought it was just Miss Bet. Miss Bet is one of the halves of Ellen B, but the other, Liza, really got the information.
How did the war change you?
I was created during the Civil War. I was completely developed and destroyed during the Civil War. Nobody knows the whole story of Ellen B, and I'm not popular. I learned how to be sneakier and work efficiently. My two parts learned how to work together and repair their broken relationship. Even though Ellen B didn't change much, the characters that made up Ellen B changed dramatically.
What is your view on slavery?
I hate slavery, absolutely hate it. One of my goals is to free as many slaves as I can and help wounded soldiers in captivity. I secretly pass notes to soldiers giving them information regarding the war and bringing them food. With these notes, the war can be won faster, freeing more slaves. I also pay for people to get slaves across the border to free them.
What was your role in the Civil War?
I did a lot of secretive things in the war. I would go to the prisons Union soldiers were stuck in and bring them food and books. The guards didn't realize that I had snuck notes into the books to communicate with the soldiers. I also used a lot of wealth to bribe people into delivering messages across the borders in hope of giving valuable information to the Union generals.
How did the war change you?
By the time the war was over, I literally became crazy. When the guards stopped letting me visit the soldiers, I pretended to be crazy. They thought because I was delirious, I couldn't help the soldiers. They also didn't know that it was all an act. I also lost my fiancé when he went to fight for the Confederates. As I grew older after the war, I purchased 40 cats that lived with me in my mansion. I lost a lot of my fortune bribing the guards to let me get into the prison and paying people to carry messages over the borders.
That's a wrap.
Yeah. Okay. What was your role in the Civil War?
I am opposed to slavery. Even though I am the leader of the Confederacy, I felt that it was my duty to rule over the Confederates, even though I didn't agree with their views. I do own slaves, because that's the norm. I treat my slaves kindly. They have their own house, but they are still slaves. I don't exactly agree, but again, it's my duty to serve the Confederacy, and I plan to lead with the best of my ability.
What is your view on slavery?
As the president of the Confederacy, I had a lot to do with the Civil War. I gave Lee the responsibility of the Confederate Army and gave orders to his soldiers. I was sick for a significant part of the Civil War, which made fighting and leading the country difficult. But even though difficulty, I still led the Confederate country.
How did the war change you?
I had a lot of stress related to diseases about the war. I am crumbling like a stale cookie. I tried to poison myself twice. I was slowly deteriorating and slowly dying. When the Union won, my citizens lost a lot of respect for me and blamed me for the defeat.
This master was kind. I saw my family and friends being abused. He gave me a view of the real slavery, and it made me hate slavery.
Just keep going.
The right is that I could become a slave, so I do it.
Wait, she's Wilson now? I thought I was the guy. Well, you see, back when I was in the war, I was gonna be a slave. Excuse me. And so I had to escape to the north. But I didn't know what to do because the South was on my tail and I was an enslaved African. It's torture.